This is Vivian Maßwohl, host of Femme Vitale, and today I'm joined by Zambian, Montreal-based rapper and producer Ashanti Mutinta, known by their stage name BACKXWASH, here at CKCU FM. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you this evening? I know you're feeling a bit down.
Yeah, a bit down, but I think it's going to pass, hopefully, soon.
So it is nearly the end of 2019. We are getting to the end of it, and you have had a spectacular year. Now, I'm going to kind of do a recap of your year. I creep all of my guests, so don't be
awesome.
So you dropped 2 videos, a video for Freaks and Don't Come to the Woods. I love Don't Come to the Woods. I don't know what it was filmed on, but it is aesthetically my vibe. Loved it.
Oh, thank you.
You have an amazing album, Deviancy, that came out on July 12th, which was named Album of the Day. And then on top of that, one of the albums of the summer by Bandcamp. You had a mini tour. You performed at Pride Excellence and then for Ottawa Pride, as well as numerous festivals. And you've opened up for The Sorority, Godspeed You Black Emperor, very cool, and Tommy Wright III. You released another single, Black Magic, this past November. 2 of your songs are going to be featured on Showtime's Work in Progress, which is super cool. And you've gained over 55,000 streams and nearly 8,000 listeners across 74 countries on Spotify. Just congratulations on your whole year. It's
oh, thank you.
Very
thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, I never expected it to go in less this year. Mm-hmm. So it's really nice that it worked out it worked out the way it did.
How do you feel kind of reflecting on your year?
I think it feels really good. It feels accomplished in a way. Mm-hmm. And it feels wonderful.
A bit of a stranger question. If you could time travel, what do you think that you would tell you from December of 2018?
I would what would I tell myself? I think I would tell myself not to do anything different and just stay on the same, and maybe even tell myself that I get to meet Tommy Wright.
And I see your Twitter bio. You have a little bit of a hint of what's to come. Can you tell us what you think the next year will bring for you?
Yeah, I got a new album and a new EP next year. Mm-hmm. The album is called God Has Nothing to Do with It. Ooh. Leave him out of this. The EP is going to be Black Sailor Moon 2. And I just want to continue making more music. And damn. I'm really interested in how the structure of an album plays out, because it's kind of like how a director would look at a movie, look at it from its inception to its end. And I'm kind of really into that right now. How do people, all these great albums that we had in the past, what were people's mind frame when they were going with it, and how did they pick up themes, and how did they choose and sequence songs correctly? And I think one, I want to have a long discography. Yeah, I'm just interested in albums. I like singles. Singles are awesome, but I would prefer to work on albums. Mm-hmm. It feels like it's the fuller story.
I like that. So you want your album to kind of tell a story from top to bottom, with each song adding to that story. I love that. I think that's going back from how people consume albums now, just kind of skipping through. Yeah, I like that. So you have an album coming out, but then you also have an EP coming up. I'm assuming Q2 means second quarter. Am I correct?
Yeah.
That's if you release that, that's less than a year since you dropped your last album. That's incredibly fast. That's so impressive. That's such a lot of content in a short amount of time. Do you have, what's your writing process like? Do you have a very quick writing process?
The writing process is, if I can come up with a hook for a song, then I'm not gonna write that song at all. Mm-hmm. Hooks are really important to me, and I think it's something that's continuously going on, because I have ideas in my head, and I have them maybe done throughout the year, and all that's left is the execution of it. Mm-hmm. So it's if I have a hook in my head and I have an idea for a sample, I'm I'll just put the beat down, and if I like the way the beat comes out and everything goes, the easiest part is just writing the verses, and writing the verses doesn't really take time for me.
Very cool, because you have a great way with words. I love all your lyrics.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And speaking of Black Magic, which dropped on November 15th, could you tell me just a little bit about what that single means to you?
Black Magic, I was in a very sad and depressing place, and I guess it's that idea of not, when you're feeling that way, not getting help and just continuing with your vices.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I use black magic as a term because it's like in some people's perspective of magic, is a sense of magic that is looked down upon.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of was using that as like a metaphor of like, participating in something that some people might say is not good for me to handle my sadness and depression.
Okay. Speaking of magic, well, obviously throughout your music you have this theme, but also in multiple interviews you specifically mentioned the intersection of witchcraft and queerness. And I found that super interesting because you practice witchcraft yourself, but I've also, like myself, noticed in a lot of queer communities, witchcraft really is there, and it's super interesting. So I was looking at papers, and people have written a ton of papers on it. Do you believe yourself that magic, witchcraft, like paganism, polytheism, do you believe it's inherently queer?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I think they complement each other pretty well. I think at the least they complement each other like extremely well. Because I guess my perspective of witchcraft is any traditional ceremony that would be seen as spiritual from the tribe I'm from will be seen as witchcraft. It would be called witchcraft, which is it's kind of like a catch-all term, but I think there's almost like a nuance to it because it's just African spiritualism to a degree. And where I capture the intersection is how similar witches and queer people have been oppressed where I'm from.
That's what I was thinking, like the outsider status from mainstream religion. Definitely there's such a parallel, which I find that's incredible that they come together. Creeping into a bit of your past interviews. In your interview for The Link, which was last December by Victoria Lamis, you talked about sampling songs such as Britney Spears' Toxic as a sign of, and quote, being afraid to take the leap of having strictly dark music because you feel as if people were going to get bored. And then going to deviancy and black magic, you don't have any overt song sampling. Do you feel that you have overcome that fear in a way?
It's funny because there's actually a lot of like sampling going on deviancy. And I guess that the quote was just the feel of sampling dark music is kind of boring in the sense of it's like you already know what you're going to get if I'm sampling something dark and the topic is already dark. And it's like, all right, I can tell how the song sounds, and I can kind of make up from the lyrics that it's gonna sound like dark and gritty. And I guess during Black Sailor Moon, I wanted to pick instrumentals that kind of averted those expectations and kind of like have this, gritty topic on top of this like glitzy and glamorous beat on top of it. Because I think that's like more terrifying, where something doesn't feel scary, but the more that you look into it, you're like, all right, no, that's kind of terrifying. Like Midsommar, how it's shot in bright, sunny afternoons and mornings, doesn't really look scary at all at face value, but when you like get into it, you're like, all right, this is kind of wild. I mean, that was my thoughts when I was doing Black Sailor Moon, but it's like once I started making the beats for deviancy, it was just kind of like, going towards the idea that music is transformative and it's not just an idea of taking a random sample, but it's what does the sample mean to you once you pick it, because it's like on deviancy, every sample that we chose had a specific undertone and story that it added to like each one of the tracks. Same as Black Magic going forward. So it's like, what do these samples mean to us, essentially?
I have a question. This was not on the list that I sent you, but I was very curious when I was listening to Black Magic. There's this specific sound that you use within the beat, and it's like this clicking that kind of lasts all the way to the end, and I really was focused on it. I couldn't figure out what it could be, because it definitely wasn't like a regular beat. Can you give some examples of the samplings that you used for that song?
Oh, yeah. So during the composition of Black Magic, I got this Patti Smith song that I like a lot, but the title has like skipped on me. But I got it, and the reason why I liked it was the first part sounds so unsure or ominous, and it's like, oh no, this is kind of weird. Then once I chopped it up and like put like the bass drums under it, I was like, well, this I like the way this sounds, and I could like hear the hook, like Black Magic. Then I was like, well, it's gonna get boring if it continues the whole way. So I plotted, like in FL Studio, this guitar on it. And well, when we were mixing it, we found the guitar didn't have any low end, so we got somebody to play on it.
Mm-hmm.
The sound that is there is actually like this loop of like broken glass.
Okay.
I kind of like weird stuff like that in beats where like it's not even like an instrument or anything. It's just like a weird sound that that somebody included. It's just like boom there, and it's like it's really like
fun.
Yeah.
And it's fun as the listener to try and figure out exactly what each sound is instead of like obviously we're listening to the song and we're listening to your voice and your story, but at the same time there's that level of engagement in the song where you're like, what on earth could that be?
Yeah.
You have a very cool aesthetic, from your devil outfits to your face being featured on your pins with devil horns to your show posters and even the visuals at your show. Could you tell me a bit how you and your creative director, Chachi, how did you conceptualize BACKXWASH's aesthetic?
Well, at the beginning, I never knew exactly what I was doing because I was also discovering about myself from an identity perspective. So I wasn't really sure what I was doing. Then during like the Black to the Moon phase, I got into this discovery process of discovering all these things that I wasn't allowed to access because I grew up in such a Christian home and all these things are like out of my reach. Then after that, I started working with Chachi, and Chachi is like kind of on the same wavelength, and we clicked. And every time that I describe something, Chachi always gets it. It's just like boom, and it's just organically developed from that point.
Nice. I really enjoy it, especially your posters. I like the darkness of it.
Oh, thank you.
And you're very nice. You have a lovely, like, friendly voice, but for your rapping, you identify yourself as being angry, and you're an aggressive rapper, and you've spoken about how you like to channel that anger through your music, and it's quite therapeutic for you. I like also the header of your Twitter is a screenshot of a listener saying that they're like shadow boxing in their room to your music. Like, I have to say, like, multiple times I have played your music, and like specifically when I'm walking home at nighttime, I have played your music, and I'm like, I could totally fight a bitch right now. Like, I'm in that mood. Like, I hella could do that right now. It really hypes me up. It makes me feel like I'm not 5'1". Like, I'm a fighter.
Oh, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you. And so anger can be definitely cathartic, and there's so much to be angry about, especially as a trans POC in this world right now. After the hype of the anger of performing or writing or recording, do you ever find yourself emotionally fatigued, and how do you combat that fatigue? Like, what's your self-care?
I guess I would say it goes the other way, where I'm usually like so reserved and I guess quiet that it's almost like the anger when I perform is just itching to come out. So it's like it feels like performing is almost like a release at that point. And yeah, because like during I guess my regular life, I'm just like so quiet and I keep everything in. Then during a performance, it's like, all right, let's shout about things.
Okay, that's interesting. It's quite the opposite. Yeah, I like that meme that you have on your Instagram where it's like me on stage and it's like this growling dog. That's like you in real life, and it's like this little puppy. I love that.
Oh, thank you.
No problem. Okay, so last question here. So Femme Vitale, we seek to promote female, non-binary, and transgender artists. Who are your top 3 favorite artists who identify as such?
It would be Big Sissy from Montreal. It's like credible, like gender non-conforming like artists who like they are just so dope, and like they have like the whole package. Like they can sing, they can produce, they can like dance, perform, and incredible songwriter as well. One of my favorites in like Montreal.
Lovely.
And then there's also Blackberry Jam came up with like a EP that I really like, and they have like this like interesting flow and the way they like approach these beats, and I'm really excited for what they're working on next. And third one are the Black Dresses from Toronto. Both Rook and Debbie are incredible and just like pushing the boundaries of what sound can be. Yeah, and Lone Moon. Lone Moon is also another one, though.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate you being on the show today. I'm going to just plug you a bit. If you want to see BACKXWASH in the new year in the Montreal area, she's performing as part of Lux Magna, and you are performing with Big Sissy and Blackberry Jam, correct?
Hell yeah.
Awesome. That is happening on January 25th. And if you want to check her out online, you can go to her site, backwash.lgbt. You can find her Bandcamp, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube under her name. That is BACKXWASH with an X, BACKXWASH. Okay, Ashanti, thank you so much for being on the show. You have a great rest of your evening, and I hope you feel better.
Thank you.
All right, have a good one.
Bye.